Hello, welcome to Into the Fire, a Burning Coal Theater Company podcast series.
Hello, I'm Jerome Davis. I'm the Artistic Director of Burning Coal Theater Company, and I'd like to welcome everyone to our podcast series, Into the Fire, a podcast on all things theatrical. Today we have a very special guest, Bronwen Carson, who runs Sounding Line Arts, a theater company in this area that has agreed to work with us this summer on our second stage series in June. And her production that she's working on right now is called the I forgot the apartment of many the mansion
of many apartments.
Right. I knew apartments was part of the story,
yes,
but okay. So Bronwen, so we'll talk just a little bit. We're also filming this one because we'll be using it not only as part of our podcast, but we'll also be doing video clips from it as well to try to help us advertise the piece. So let's start out a little bit by talking about you as an artist. Where do you come from originally?
Yeah.
And how in the world did you end up in Raleigh?
I started out as a classical ballet dancer straight out of high school, 17 years old, bright and shiny, moved directly to Cleveland about a week after graduating from high school.
Where was high school?
High school was in Northern California, a little town called Los Gatos, which is in the foothills of the Santa Cruz Mountains in the Bay Area.
And the path from there to Cleveland is a well-trod one, or
no,
not at all.
And it was quite a culture shock for me at that age, joining a professional company. It was a wonderful experience. It was a difficult experience. Ultimately, it was not the right place for me.
What was the company?
The company was Cleveland Ballet at the time. It was a wonderful national company. And then they became San Jose Cleveland Ballet. But the artistic director and I we aligned on the whole artistry part. Technique-wise, I was a little lacking. I didn't have any of the high extensions, but I loved it and was with them for a while. And then came back to the Bay Area and started doing musical theater.
Right.
I was a musical theater actor, got my equity card through doing musical theater, and then decided I would move to New York.
Did you work mostly when you were doing musical theater in Northern California? Or?
Yes, at a regional equity house called American Musical Theater of San Jose, AMT, and they did wonderful productions, really wonderful. And then I moved, I was in a movie called Dance With Me in LA with Vanessa Williams.
Oh, interesting.
I was a dancer in that, and I thought, I think I'll try my hand at New York.
Right.
Yeah.
And from there, more musical theater, or?
A little bit less musical theater, and I started transitioning into acting in theater and acting in independent films. Right. Got my SAG card, did more work, equity and SAG wise, and then just felt the itch to write and direct. And so I just naturally started dovetailing into that.
It's a difficult transition when when you're on one side of the table. That short trip around to the other side of the table is not an easy one, because people think of you as one thing, and so they don't think to talk to you about or call you for the other thing. So how did that transition happen?
That, and absolutely spot on. It is a tough transition. I found it to be very difficult as a female to be perceived as a director, as a writer. That was a ceiling that I didn't see until I felt it. But I started working with actors that I had built relationships with in New York, casting them in my work, slowly making a name for myself, and then getting to direct other people's plays. And then it just started sort of blossoming slowly from there. What brought me down here to Raleigh after almost 20 years in New York is I just wanted a space where I could focus on writing more and doing the kind of work that I wanted to develop as a theater director as a filmmaker as well.
Did Sounding Line Arts predate Raleigh, or is that it had started before then?
It did. I developed it, founded it in 1911.
Yeah.
No.
2011.
2011.
Yeah.
2011, yes.
Yeah, and that was to produce your own work, your own material.
That's right.
So that space is difficult anywhere, but I have discovered that it's kind of the barrier that really keeps most people away from doing the kind of things you're describing. Write my own plays, work with artists that I admire and have a bond with. Okay, where are we going to do it? The old cliche was, let's get a barn and put on a show. Mickey and Judy or whatever. But there ain't no barns in New York City. But there were, at least when I was there, there were a pretty good selection of small rooms that could be rented out and used as a producing space. I don't know if that continued into the 21st century.
Oh, it absolutely did. If anything, it actually expanded.
Really?
Because
Okay.
Ripley Greer, that had the original space
Auditions.
on 8th Avenue, 528th Avenue.
Yeah.
They took over another building, and then they blocked it. So if anything, there's more spaces now in New York.
So you can rehearse there. Can you perform there, though?
The performance spaces are still, I think that it blossomed a bit. But yes, there's still spaces, black box spaces, kind of all peppering all over Manhattan and Brooklyn, and even into Long Island City.
Right.
That was the hardest transition for me here, was finding rehearsal space.
Right.
I still struggle with it. I reach out to people, 72 hours in advance, which was no problem in New York.
Right.
Same day is no problem in New York.
Yeah.
But here, they need 2-week notice.
Yeah. Because there's so little of it it's booked up.
So I still struggle.
Yeah.
I still struggle with that.
Yeah, it's difficult. Where do you go for that kind of space here? I know that there's a few places, and our rehearsal warehouse is one of them.
That's
but
right. I know.
Where else where does one look?
It's I have to be honest, it's slim pickings here.
Yeah.
And anyone out there listening, that is a business opportunity. That's actually a huge unfilled niche where if you have a commercial space or building and you have the possibility of renting it out, trust me, there are artists all over the Triangle that would rent space. I am telling you.
Yeah.
If I had a building, I would do that.
Yeah.
But I ended up finding a wonderful space at Starbright Youth Theater on Oak Park Road. Yeah. And that was just through deep digging through the interwebs. Right. And Karen, who is running it, she has allowed me to rent space there. Yeah. And it's almost equal to the theater size here. And I've been rehearsing there as well.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's terrific.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there are very few like that.
Very few.
And getting fewer. There was one called Common Ground. I don't know if you knew that one before.
Yes.
It was in Durham, and it felt a little bit like a shed in someone's backyard or something like that.
Yes, it's still there.
Oh, is it?
It is still there.
I thought they had closed that down.
Maybe they opened a new space, but I did look
nice.
it up, and they offered it. It's just asking my actors to come all the way to Durham, which was great for me because I'm in Carrboro. Right. That was a lot to ask, so that's why I didn't go that direction. Yeah.
Well, let's talk a little bit about. So once you get here, does Sounding Line Arts expand in terms of its productivity? Does it contract? Is it just a reassessment before you move forward? Where are you right now? I know the pandemic got in the way there too.
That's right. The first production I did down here as Sounding Line Arts was in co-production with Taya Artistry and yourselves for According.
Right.
But yes, the pandemic did thwart a lot. The next production I did was a film. I did a short film last year, a 30-minute short film, narrative short that I shot here in the Triangle about the rise in homelessness amongst working Americans. and then the next one is this.
Yeah.
So it feels like it's more, I have to be more precise
I see.
about what I bring to production. I have to be very mindful and very dedicated to one thing.
What is the how would you define or describe the kind of work that Sounding Line Arts does? I know that, like Taya Artistry, who helped with our production or created the production of Being Shaka that we just did here, there's a different aspect to it than to what one might think of as a traditional theater rehearsal and tech and performance trajectory. How would you describe Sounding Line Arts' work?
Right, yes. Sounding Line Arts, I really wanted to be able to join my own disparate interests, which still very much includes choreography and movement. So I would say physical theater. I'm very interested in narrative installation work. So I like to combine narrative installation or set design that has its own story. I know a lot of theater does that anyway, but that definitely is a component. Physical theater is always a component, or physicality. And then my process as a writer-director now includes deep collaborative work with the actors involved. So I'm workshopping scenes with them, doing half scripted, half improvised, and then I go home and I write the scene out in its completion. It's an unorthodox process that I think is wonderful and exciting and challenging for the artists involved.
So half scripted, half improvised.
Yeah.
I could imagine a number of models there, and none of which are probably exactly what you're doing. But are you saying that you write the first page and then they go from there, or you write one character's dialogue and not the responses to it, or what does it look like?
Yeah, I love that you have all these ideas of how it could be. Of course you do. What I did for Mansion of Many Apartments was I wrote out the beats of the scene, where I wanted it to go, the notes, the beats that I wanted to hit, the arc, and then wrote maybe a line or two that is a beat shift, so that they had sort of markers, and then I had them improvise through there, and I recorded them. I recorded their improvisation, and then thank you to modern technology, which I feel conflicted about in other ways, AI. But I took the transcription, and then I took sections and I rewove it, and then I wrote the scene. And then, the next day or a few days later would say, okay, here it is.
Right.
In that regard, it's, we as artists, it's a learning process. It's an arc. We are ever evolving, ever growing, I think, as artists.
Right.
And I'm excited by this process, but I'm also seeing the challenges it presents. Because as an actor, it can ground you and root you in feeling safe and trusting the play when you are handed a full script from start, from jump. And that's not what my process is.
The beats are clear,
that's
the
right,
trajectory.
Right.
Do you find that ultimately that you have followed the Aristotelian model, of the status quo and the inciting incident and the rising action and all that? Do you look back and go, well, yeah, that fits that model, or is it something new?
No, it's definitely, it definitely fits that model. I would say it adheres a little bit more to the hero's journey.
Talk about that more.
Where we start with very quickly with that call to action.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's not even really a status quo
I see.
for this particular play.
Okay.
We're just thrown right into the call or the inciting incident,
Right.
and off the hero, the leading actor, goes on this journey of not just discovery, but lots of trials and tribulations. Specifically meeting people and having them be new to her. Her relationship to them is not what she thinks.
This is in the Mansion of Many Apartments.
Apartments. And then the cave going into the deep inner cave and having that really frightening deep self-discovery of having to examine who one is before you get to move on and have the final battle with the dragon and bring the magic potion home to the village. So I do. I'm a lover of Joseph Campbell. So that hero's journey really speaks to me.
It's very interesting. Are there specifics about the mansion and mini apartments that you can talk about from a standard plot standpoint?
Absolutely.
Who is the hero of?
Who is the hero?
Right.
We don't really know. There is the primary character, but in many ways, because of what she's gone through, this traumatic brain injury, she is not a traditional protagonist. She has some very strong antagonistic qualities, but it is through her that we travel. But her sister and her brother also have very large roles in this. In many ways, it's about how they navigate their relationship now that she's very different.
Right. Okay.
But yes, it is primarily through her that we travel this hero's path.
What do you want the audience to take from a piece like that? I don't know if one can ever fully define that, but is there a single idea that you think is the reason you chose to write it, or reason you chose to create it?
Yeah, Jerry, absolutely. Actually, it was a number of years ago. A friend, brought up something he'd read about something called prospagnosia, which is face recognition blindness. It's the inability to recognize the people around you and often yourself in the mirror.
Wow.
And I remember when he brought it up, I thought, oh God, that would make a really good play. That's wow. And it stuck in the back of my head until it just, as ideas do, represented itself to me.
How do you communicate that, though?
Yeah.
I could imagine a novel very easily communicating that idea. But what is it? Is this where the movement aspect of your work comes in?
It is the movement. I'm really excited. Matthew Adelson and I have I feel like really connected on
I thought you might.
Yeah, absolutely. On how the lighting conveys how the world has become very uncertain to her, and how her own world is too bright. There's too much information. It's too much for her. Right. There's too much expectation on her. But what I would kind of circling back to what you had asked about what I hope the audience, I hope that they leave with a wonderment about how they might be relying on the familiarity, the visual familiarity of the people in their lives as a gauge of how well they know them, instead of how well they know them. Like, I thought I knew you, but you were just familiar.
Right.
That kind of thing. Because now that she can't recognize them, she listens to what they say a lot more. And that shifts how she feels about them.
Gestures too, I would imagine.
Gestures for sure. The movement of the world that is confusing to her is very much a part of how she doesn't know how to navigate this anymore. When you don't know if someone on the street is a stranger or someone who you know really well, it's deeply destabilizing.
I've been watching dogs a lot, and the way the different dogs respond to different people, and they're not imagining what they sense in that person. They are sensing it, and it's something that we don't necessarily sense. And we don't walk up to a person and go like this, or start growling, or whatever, or turn away, and yet dogs do that all the time. And I imagine that, or conversely, roll over on their back and offer up their belly. We don't do much of that either. No. But I think that that's because we may be judging the people that we encounter based on more superficial
Yes.
things
Yes.
than the dogs
Yes,
are.
that's very astute. That's exactly what I was curious about investigating. What happens to relationships and one's sense of autonomy when that kind of familiarity is ripped away? It also does investigate autonomy, and I'm excited that the two leading characters are women in their 40s, because by the time we get to that place, we often, and I'll speak for myself only, there is a profound sense of autonomy. Like, this is who I am, this is who I know I am, I know how to move through the world, I have these boundaries, and that's absolutely taken away from her. So there's, what is the line between one's autonomy and sense of controlling one's life and one's responsibility to the people in their life?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's fascinating, and I can't wait to see it. I enjoyed the last piece that you created for us during the pandemic,
Yes.
I might add, and that was a courting, and I'm very much looking forward to the Mansion of Many Apartments.
Thank you.
I nailed it on the first try
You
this
did,
time.
you did,
The
yes.
Mansion of Many Apartments,
Yes.
which opens on the 14th. The whole series begins on the 12th of June and runs through the 29th. There are 4 plays running in repertory, one of which is The Mansion of Many Apartments, produced by Sounding Line Arts and Burning Coal collaboration, written and directed by Bronwen Carson, our guests. And the dates throughout that month,
Yes.
do you know those?
Yes, absolutely. The 14th, 21st, 22nd, 27th, and 28th.
Great. So five performances. More information can be found at burningcoal.org, or give us a call if you'd like at 919-834-4001. We're looking forward to seeing everyone at Burning Coal for our Wait Till You See This series, our second stage series, this June at Burning Coal. Thank you all for joining us.